After an extended absence and a nation of cries to get Chris Liss back on air, we are indeed back on RotoWire TV, here to help you crush your second half leagues, your mid-season drafts, or just to help you in that stretch run. Chris, welcome back from the football magazine and the Salt Mines. Glad to have you back doing this.
Yeah, a nation meaning, maybe 2 or 3 people, similar. I'd say that's about the number.
Commensurate with our huge, humongous viewing audience that we have.
Right. But by the way, we should be talking some football after this because, that's people want to see football at this point, Jeff. Baseball guys, they're either out of it or they don't need our help.
True. But I just like talking baseball. I know. I go kicking and screaming every year, and at least I held out longer than usual. I snuck in a little football talk on the air here and there when I could, but I tried. For the most part, I held off the Deutsche and Horde. So we can do football now. That's July. I feel okay with it there. Oh, it's almost July. It'll be July tomorrow. Anyways, okay, mid-season, at the halfway point, we're assessing some of our tricky players, some of the guys that maybe are swing players. I want to start off with Ryan Braun, something we didn't talk about on the show today. So far, he and Nelson Cruz have had pretty good seasons after coming off their suspensions. Ryan Braun, so far, you look at his numbers, hitting .290, 11 homers, 8 stolen bases. Did have 1 trip on the DL, only 64 games played. What do you expect from him in the second half?
I don't know. The fact that he's done that with the trip to the DL is a good thing. DL is good, right? I mean, Jose Abreu, he has 25 homers, and he was on the DL. Chris Davis, disappointing, but the fact that he was on the DL for several weeks mitigates that a little bit for his second half outlook. So DL means fewer opportunities. I think it looks like these guys who took the roids didn't need them that badly. Cruz obviously is better than ever. Braun obviously was better on the roids, but again, he was on the DL, and it's a half-season sample minus the DL stint. He still seems like he's a very good hitter. So Melky Cabrera, apparently the roids were not necessary. I think the outlooks are good for these guys. I mean, obviously health plays an issue, and there's sample size issues, but I would think Braun is, if not a late first, early second-round pick if you're redrafting for the second half.
But isn't the health one of the big issues with Braun and maybe one of the selling points to depending? See, the thing is, again, we don't know what the hell he is taking and how much of it, and I harp on this point because it's just an opportunity lost to know exactly what happens here to these athletes' bodies. But, the fact is he avoided DL trips in his past. This year he couldn't do that.
Yeah, but it was like wasn't that the thumb thing that was bothering him all year? Or that nerve issue that he has? I don't think that's.
But he also had an oblique injury. He had multiple things, and
well, maybe
that's just the point.
That nerve injury is not roid related. I don't think the roids help that very much. So some things are just unavoidable. I don't know. I'm not a huge Braun guy, but I think if you want a 2020 guy who hits for average, he's a pretty safe bet. And people are paying for Cargo in the first round saying, well, he's a minimum 2020 290 every year. I think Braun is a 2020 290 guy, even in this incarnation of it.
Could be right. And fact of the matter is I did trade for him in my NL-only league where I am going for it. So, yeah, I have a certain amount of belief. Nelson Cruz has crushed it so far. The only one that I can think of, 2 guys I can think of, Everth Cabrera and Yasmani Grandal, who both play in San Diego, have still stunk. The rest of the Padres there, I don't know if that's a post-Roy thing or it's just them being in San Diego and the whole malaise taking everybody down.
Yeah, I think if you play in San Diego, you should take steroids. I mean, that's the issue. If you play in Baltimore, you don't need them. If you play in Toronto, you don't need them, right? I mean, that's pretty obvious what the verdict is on this.
Okay, so there you go. All right, let's look at some of the other guys. Masahiro Tanaka.
Here's what I want to see. I want to see Giancarlo Stanton traded to the Rockies, commit to a very significant roid regimen, and see what the numbers are. Because who cares? I mean, at this point, give me an over/under on home runs for Giancarlo Stanton if he's permitted to use roids for the entire year at the direction of knowledgeable Balco types that know how to get the most out of the roids. Give me an over/under for home runs for Stanton
there. 79.
79, no. 67.5.
Break for a full season. Full season. Starts the year in Colorado.
158 games, let's say. I'm going to say 68.5, but again, right, that's just the over-under. He could easily hit 107. I mean, easily hit 79, but, if he had a horrible year, it'd be like 50. And that would be like his bottom 10 percentile.
I mean, I understand that Bonds is a better pure hitter, better plate discipline, blah, blah, blah. But Stan's had a better pure power guy, at least was. to
Well,
start off
it's
with there. Bonds
arguable.
grew into it. Stanton's
Yeah.
already there. How much more can he grow? I guess that's the question. Can you get, does it get to the point
Yeah.
where it'd be like cartoon-like, be pro wrestling-like, where it actually can get in the way?
Look what happened to Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire was kind of skinny in 1989. When you see him like play, when he hit 49 homers.
I was kind of skinny in 1989, Chris.
Who was?
I was kind of skinny in 1989. You
Oh,
were
yeah.
kind of skinny in 1989. We all get bigger.
Right. What I'm saying is, when McGwire was young, he was skinny. When he's on the roids, he looked like Stanton does now.
I know.
Stanton took the roids. He would look like, the Mountain. You're not watching Game of Thrones, but the Mountain is what.
I'm trying. I'm catching up. I'm a ways to go. Actually, they introduced the Mountain in season 1, but I believe it's a different incarnation of it.
Different character. It confused the hell out of me. I was like, who's this guy? But it's the same guy, just different actor.
That's right. That's what I had heard. So.
You know what else is confusing? When the same actor, when Mayor Carcetti gets transported into Littlefinger, that's also confusing. When you see Carcetti doing all this stuff, wearing these weird robes, and speaking with this like weird English accent, it's confusing.
Right. Shows what a good actor he was, though. That he could pull off a Baltimore mayor and Game of Thrones character there. Pretty cool, feudal lord, if you will. Yeah. All right. So let's look at some of these other guys at the halfway point. Chris Davis. What do you think about him? He had a bad second half last year. At least, not a bad second half. I overstate the case. His second half was comparably lower, hitting .212 now. 66 games, 13 homers, 41 RBI. We knew that he wasn't going to hit 300 again, but I didn't think he'd hit .212 either.
Yeah, let's fix this camera a little bit. I think he should be fine. I don't think the .212 is really a big deal. Remember, he missed like 4 weeks. We're talking about a 2-month sample here, and anyone can hit .212 in a 2-month sample, barring a high contact guy like Altuve. So, I think he's probably a 260, 270 type of guy because he hits the ball with a lot of velocity. When he hits it, he's going to get hurt by shifts. He's going to strike out a lot. But I think the home runs are going to be there. The powers, there's no question about the power. He's healthy now. There's no real issue. So, I expect Davis to hit another 17 homers, 18, 19, 20 homers in the second half. And if you need power and people are worried about what he's done, I would acquire him without a second thought.
Give me a projection for Bryce Harper for the second half. He comes back today.
I'm going to say 40 homers, 40 steals. And no, I think he's probably going to go, who knows, right? If he stays healthy, I think he's good for 17, 18 homers and, 8 to 10 stolen bases and, batting average, who knows, 290, 285.
Top 10 player the rest of the way?
You always bet against that, right? You always bet against that, but I wouldn't take 10 players ahead of him. So, in other words, I would take the field.
You would take the field, yeah, I know.
I would take the field to fill out the top 10 spots rather than him being a top 10 guy. But if there's probably, eight guys with a better chance of being in the top 10 than him. So, yes, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. I hate that, though. I mean, I always feel like, okay, just give me your 10. Just give me your 10 guys. You don't have to do this right now because I didn't give you time to prep that. But
I'll give you a 10 right now.
All right, let's do this.
Trout, Cabrera, 1 and 2.
All right.
I'm going to forget like 50 people. I'd still probably take Goldschmidt, McCutchen, maybe, because they're just so reliably good.
Okay.
And then, Kershaw I would take if you count pitchers. Stupid helicopter.
Of course I count pitchers.
I don't know if it's getting in the recording, but it's like, do we really need a police helicopter in the middle of the day over my house? Is there some sort of like triple murder going on? No, just get out of my face. Just get out of here with this stuff. Seriously.
You're constantly murdering Time Warner, and they're coming to get you for that. You're murdering Time Warner on the air every day on the radio show.
The government, so I'm sure they could like summon a helicopter if I complained enough. But anyway, I got to Kershaw, which is 5 if we're counting pitchers. And then, you're looking at Yasiel Puig is very similar to Harper. I think those guys are about the same. I think Harper maybe slightly more power in the environment they have, and Puig maybe a little better bet for batting average. But those guys are close. I'm trying to think who else. Who am I leaving out? Who's a big
Stanton?
Who? Stanton. I think is right there. Yeah, I'd probably put Stanton right a little ahead of Harper because I think the power is more established and he's also running maybe as much as Harper will run. So I'll put Stanton like 1 or 2 slots ahead of him. Jose Abreu is about the same. Harper's going to run. Jose Abreu won't. Jose Abreu more power, better park. So those are the guys. I don't think Edward Encarnacion. Same thing as about Abreu. I'd maybe take Harper over him, but very very close. So that's kind of the whole top 10. Altuve you could make an argument for with the middle infield eligibility, the average, and the steals. I'd probably take Harper over Altuve the rest of the way. Obviously, the first half from Altuve, if I knew he would duplicate it, I would take him in the top 5. But I don't think he's going to duplicate 347. So, those are the. Am I missing someone out? I don't put Dozier in the top 10.
What about Tulo or Carlos Gomez? Give me one of those two.
Gomez just always seems to be banged up with one thing or another. I know Harper has too, but probably he's in two. Gomez is kind of like Ryan Braun in that way. There are always some little nagging things always bothering them. But I would have them, probably around Harper. I may take Harper over them, but it's close. And Tulo is always a huge injury risk, but the eligibility and the year so far, he's cooled off. Tulo. I mean, he was just at a monster pace. I'd probably take Harper over him, but I wouldn't. Gun to my head, if there were a draft now, and I might change my mind on that.
All right, let's look at pitchers here. Yu Darvish versus Tanaka versus King Felix or Adam Wainwright. Put them in those 4 in order the rest of the way.
Kershaw's the clear number 1, and then those 4 are probably the next 4. I think I would put Darvish 2 because the strikeout upside is so big, and he had a couple rocky starts, but everybody does. And then probably Felix, and then Tanaka, and then Wainwright. Wainwright, I think if healthy, is as safe as anybody in the league, but that elbow scare just worries me a little bit. So just because I'll put him 5th, but performance-wise, he might even be 2nd.
Chris Sale versus Steven Strasburg. Who do you like better?
Strasburg is such a dog on the road, and the last start was so ugly. I'm going to say Strasburg because their health is sketchy. I'm worried about both of them. I'll say Strasburg, but it's Sale. If both are 100% healthy, probably Sale, because I think
Sale. He's got sick numbers, ever since coming back. But he did have that DL trip, and I understand the reason for being scared about him.
I think if both healthy, I take Sale. And it's not like Strasburg has been a paragon of health, so right. It's weird to ding one and not the other. But I'll say Strasburg narrowly, but I'm not strong on that.
How close does perhaps the guy with perhaps the best numbers, Johnny Cueto? Where does he rate with those guys?
He's up there. He's obviously got lots of injury stuff, but it's not arm related usually. It's usually oblique related, and he has just been ridiculous. And it's been long enough, and he's done it for so many years now that it's not a fluke. He hasn't pitched at this level with the K's usually in years past, but he's done it he's been a very good pitcher for a long time. It's not like he came out of nowhere. So. Right. I think Cueto is there with Tanaka. I think those guys are similar in the sense that they're both very, very good, but this is the first time we've seen them perform at this level. I know Japan, Tanaka was very good, but it's hard to compare. So I kind of consider those guys similarly, like the new guys who are now on that top. But right there with Wainwright and and Sale and those other guys. Strasburg, maybe I should have taken Sale over Strasburg. Strasburg's been kind of. You watch him and you're like, why aren't you destroying it? The other weird guy is Price. Do you realize how good David Price has been the last month?
Yes, I do. I've been, I was bearish on him earlier, but he's been killing it lately. He had an amazing month of June. Put himself right back up in that upper echelon. I have to admit, I cop to being wrong that he didn't belong in that top tier. He belongs.
Yeah. So now you got Price in there. Price and Sale is close. Maybe
Holy cow, he's got 144 strikeouts. He's not just close. He's killing it.
I know. He's been a monster. All these double-digit strikeout games. You could argue that Price is number 2 after Kershaw at this point because he's been the most consistent lately. And really, his only bad months were just a lot of hits and home runs. It wasn't, it was the BABIP stuff, which I thought there was something to it. I thought if you're giving up both home runs and hits, maybe you're more hittable. And either maybe he's corrected that, or maybe it was just bad luck and it's now just self-correcting. So I'm not sure the whole story there, but Price has been very, very good. Greinke has been still very good. Greinke is still got to be close. And then Julio Teheran, he doesn't have the big strikeout numbers, and the peripherals aren't that great, but he's super consistent. I don't have Teheran this year, but I feel like every time he goes out there, it's like 2 runs allowed. It's just so consistent.
He had one little stretch where he was a little off. And there was a Giants game during the day that he was really bad, and it looked like he was shaking his arm. I got really nervous. But yeah, he's been great since.
And,
All right,
and how
prospects.
about Scherzer? Scherzer had a couple big blow-ups right after you traded
Yep.
him to us, which really is we're still suffering from those. But he's come back and struck out 11 guys and just he looks like himself.
Hey, do you need a closer, by the way, in the staff league?
Not really. Why? Who do you
Okay.
have?
I got Kenley Jansen. I've got he'll be a 5A next year, Jenry Mejia. I'll keep him gladly, but I just as soon trade him for a good prospect too, if that's a possibility. But
Yeah,
I
we don't need that.
want to
We
expand my options because I've got the typical one owner who always shows interest but never actually ever makes an offer. So I'm trying to
Jan
expand my.
Levine. Jan
I'm not
Levine.
naming names, but yeah, it might be.
So, yeah, Jan Levine's so interested in talking trade, but he's actually not interested in making a trade. So he thinks he is, but when it comes down to it, he's not.
He did make one trade, and he's gonna. I know that if he actually watches the video, which there's probably about 12% chance of that happening, it'll come back on me. But whatever.
Okay. But anyway, I don't really need to say. So what I need, and it's really not Schuler's fault. I like to blame Schuler, but it's really not his fault. The fault was we got Scherzer from you. We lost Jose Fernandez, and then we got Scherzer from you. And right when we got him, he gave up 10 earned runs in a game and like two other really bad games. And at the same time, I think Samardzija got blown up for us, and for like a 7-run game, and Burnett got blown up for us. And we had the stretch where we went from 18s in both ERA and WHIP to about 11, 12. And so we got passed. And I told Schuler, and I tell him this every time, even though he hasn't really done anything disastrous, but like don't screw around with ERA, WHIP, and average, especially in keeper leagues. We talk about this every time that those ghost teams that have 10 dead spots who were not in it for this year, it doesn't hurt them in ERA, WHIP, and average. It only hurts them everywhere else. So it will. This league will be we're either going to win or take second, and it's going to be won or lost. Not about how many we're like low in wins. Who cares? We'll make up the wins. We'll get there. It doesn't matter. It's all going to be ERA, WHIP, and batting average. And it really is too bad that we lost about I would say about 15 points, 14 points in ERA and WHIP, because those are going to be the toughest ones to make up.
Yeah, I remember Ramos for the Rays getting lit up in Seattle under your watch. That was one of those.
I was not happy with that. It wasn't that bad. He gave up like 5 runs in the first inning and made it like a 7-inning, 5-run game, which isn't that bad.
Could have been worse. Okay, fair enough. So let me know if you want another starting pitcher. I've got Alfredo Simon. I could trade him. Dan Herron, I could trade him. We can make history again with another video trade, but it doesn't look like we're there yet.
Yeah, I mean, Jansen would be great, but he's not been. I mean, he's got a lot of strikeouts, but he's not been great ERA-wise. Maybe that's just a blip. But we need ERA and WHIP. So, like, if we're going to trade for somebody, it's got to be another, Scherzer type without the blow-ups in the C contract. We need one more guy to stabilize, give us another 2 or 3 points in those categories. Those are the hardest ones to move in. And as I said, all the dead teams, it doesn't help you that they've quit. Some ways it hurts you because they have so much less volume that if they're high in those, they're much less likely to lose because they're only getting 40 innings a week because they've given up.
Right. So there you go. Good luck on that. I don't know if I've got that for you there. I don't know if I can help you, but we'll see. All right. Finally, prospects, real quick. Oscar Taveras or Mookie Betts the rest of the way? Who makes a bigger impact?
I'm going to say Taveras, but I wouldn't be surprised if I were wrong.
Gregory Polanco versus George Springer. Who makes a bigger impact?
I think Springer's going to just keep hitting home runs, and Polanco's going to be more well-rounded. So if you were to put him in some sort of value calculator based on a 12-team standard league, I'll say Polanco, but I think it's going to be pretty close.
Does either Chris Bryant or Joey Gallo get the call up and make an impact this year?
I think Gallo's unlikely because he just started Double-A and he's striking out a ton in Double-A. But Chris Bryant, yes, even though Theo said no. I mean, what are you going to do if you have a 1,200 OPS at Triple-A? Come on, it's just the GM can't stop it. You can't stop a train, a freight train that's rushing. I mean, you can't if he's running over everything in his path to get to the major leagues, nobody can stop it, and I think it looks like that.
I agree with you, especially because he's doing it at AAA now. I mean, there's nowhere else to go. And I think another month of this, I think you might see him in August and September, maybe even right after the All-Star break.
Yeah, you might see him right. I mean, at certain points, like screw it, let's open the floodgates and see what this guy has in the majors, and if he crushes it, it's really easy to say, okay, here's the foundation piece of our entire franchise starting 2015, and you just know where he is. If you don't do it now, it's like, here's a great prospect, and what if he gets a slow start in April or something? If you see him crush it here in the majors, you just you really want to just give him that experience, get him. I would if I'm the Cubs, because I think next year maybe they contend even. I mean, I don't know if they should even get rid of Hamill and Samardzija and all those guys. Maybe they have a team that can play if Rizzo keeps developing and Bryant is ready and Castro keeps having a good year for the next couple of years. I mean, I think baseball, you don't know, and maybe they have a tough division though. That's one issue.
Yeah, Price or Samardzija, who's the most likely to get dealt?
I think Price gets. Well, I don't know, because it really depends on what they fetch, right? I think the Rays would deal Price, and it's a great time to sell him given how good he's been. It's great timing for them, his run. But are the Cardinals going to give him Taveras and Carlos Martinez and Colton Wong? I mean, are they going to require that because Price is this good right now? I mean, that's the problem too. Is it's great timing for a sell high for the Rays, but are they going to require so much in return that nobody's really going to be able to gut their organization that way? So
all it takes is one. All it takes is one GM to pay the price. That's the thing.
Not everybody has the assets. Not everybody has the good.
That's true.
Cardinals do. I don't think they give Taveras plus for him.
Oh, I agree. I think it would be like I said before, as a Reds fan, I'm willing to take the short-term hit just to get rid of Taveras and Wong out of the division. And hey, and if they throw in a pitching prospect too, it won't be Martinez. It'll be some guy like an A-ball or double A. It won't be anybody that's that imminent. It won't be anybody that good for the third part. That's my prediction. But,
well, what if it's not Wong? What if it's just Price for Taveras and Carlos Martinez? I mean,
that would be that's an insta call if I'm the Rays. I do that in a nanosecond.
Of course, if you're the Rays, you do it, right? Because
I
think Taveras straight up I call if I'm the Rays.
Look, I agree.
Getting a guy into that kind of control who's that kind of prospect, I mean, come on. You take it, okay? You take it.
Right.
You're lucky, when Price was hurt last year that you can get anything for him. Now you got this, maybe it's just a no-lose situation, because if they're not going to sign him anyway to the contract that he's going to get, just if you're getting a top 5 prospect for him, you just do it.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
It's like the Will Myers thing. Anyway, we can do a football.
But better. Yeah, so we'll do football next week. All right. Very good. Chris, thanks for coming back. We'll talk a lot of football as we get ready for our break. Might even be you with someone else because I'm traveling next week. We'll see. But we'll map that part out. If we do it on Monday, it'll be me again. But we'll see. All right. Thanks for watching RotoWire TV. We'll be back again next week.